Okay, so while my dad's over there pressure spraying the fuel tank for the 73 Ford, this is the outside of the fuel tank, just to get it nice and cleaned up before we patch it up and reinstall it. I am continuing on with the video that I kind of posted and told you I'd follow up on. Let's talk about the on-demand water heater system, the tankless water heater system, and how it performs compared to a conventional RV water heater. Okay, so in the last video, I mentioned the fact that Chad at Changing Lanes had done a comparison video between a tankless on-demand water heating system versus your traditional tank water heater system in an RV. Now, a tank water heater system, which again generally consists of a 7, 10, or 12-gallon quick recovery tank, is very conventional to most RVs. But tankless water heaters are becoming far, far more popular than they ever have been. And I believe the reason for that is because they've come down in price so much. In the past, there was really only like one brand, the AquaGo system, and it was a very expensive upgrade because it has some great technology built into it. But now you're starting to see a lot of other brands like Girard, Dometic, as well as Furrion come out with their own systems that are becoming more and more popular. So the specific water heater that's in here is the Girard on-demand tankless water heater by Lippert. And this specific system is a very common system that you're going to see in a lot of RVs, especially in 2024. It's going to be one of the most common water heating systems you probably see. You're not going to see as many tank water heaters, again, because of how popular these have gotten. The one major drawback I think these ultimately have, besides some of the other possible drawbacks of like a delayed recovery time, basically the point you turn hot water off and then you turn it back on and this has to kick back in to heat up that water supply. Well, the biggest drawback I think is the fact that there's no electrical option tied to this. So this still requires electricity in order to ignite the furnace, which is going to heat up the on-demand coils or the tankless coils that the water travels through and gradually gets hotter and hotter. But you can't just heat your water up through electricity. You have to have propane. However, this will likely increase the amount of propane that you use to heat up your water. So just something to be aware of. The specific system we have here is the GSWH-2 42,000 BTU unit, and this is a propane or LP gas tankless water heater from Girard. So in the last video, what I showed was that the outcome that Chad had with his video, which was actually a very good comprehensive video, and it was very thoughtfully done, but the outcomes were entirely different between how this system's performing versus his. And I think the number one reason for that is the size of trailer that this one's on. So this has very, very short PEX runs to get from here to the actual faucet. A little bit longer to get to the bathroom shower, but nowhere near as long as a traditional fifth wheel or a larger trailer. So we may have found out that this system works really well in smaller trailers, but just not as well in longer trailers where it has to make a longer journey from the water heater to the actual appliance, whether it's your sink or your bathroom or, you know, your shower. Let's test this one out with a temperature gauge so I can show you exactly how quickly the system heats up. So I've turned the system back on. It's on inside of the RV, and we're going to go ahead and test this thing out and see how it works. Okay, so we're back out in the Surveyor, and you know, my intent in this video was to use my digital temperature meter right there and show you the temperature of the water and how quickly it heated up, and then shut it off, and then wait 30 seconds, turn it back on, and then show you the recovery time. The challenge that I'm running into, though, with doing this video as comprehensively as I would like to do it, is it's working really well right now. So I have the temperature set and I've moved it around a little bit. I changed it from like 120 to 116 to 114 to 110. And my goal was to see if this system was performing as, I'm going to say poorly, from a recovery time perspective as what Chad did in his video at Changing Lanes. Basically showing that when you shut the water off for like 30 seconds, the recovery time takes so long that it's almost impractical, right? It's better just to fill your sink up with hot water, wash your dishes, or get a bucket and collect the water that you might waste while the system heats up, and then use that water for something else like he had mentioned in his video. Well, again, the challenge that I'm running into is my results are a little different. And again, I feel that they're different because the distance from the sink to the water heater is maybe 6 feet. You probably have 10 feet worth of plumbing line to get to the actual faucet. To get to the back shower, it's probably closer to 20 feet of plumbing line to get back there. So the distances are relatively short, and there's not a lot of stuff kind of impeding the flow where it has to branch off to all sorts of different places. But that said, though, the results that I'm getting are pretty favorable for a tankless water heater in a small RV like the Surveyor. And again, those results are the fact that when you look at the recovery time, once I turn water off and turn it back on, it's very short. So while I've been talking, and you can see the sink's wet because I've been doing this test several times now back to back, and again, the results I've been getting have been pretty favorable. I'm not going to say that there's no recovery time at all, because there is, but they've been pretty favorable. Let me give you an example. So I've been doing this several times now to try to make this work. I currently have it set at 112 degrees back there, so I have it set at above what the FDA suggests for washing dishes, at least by hand. If you're going to do it with a machine, I think the temperature needs to be like 135 degrees. But by hand, I believe it's 110. So I have it set higher than that. I know his was set a little higher than that before, but while I've been talking, which has been well over 2.5 minutes, almost 3 minutes, plenty of time for the water to cool down in the line, plenty of time to have flushed the water out once I turn the system on. But check this out. I'm going to turn it on. I'm going to turn my thermometer on here first. Should be around 68 degrees. Yeah, not very warm. Let's turn the water on. Put it under here. Look what happens. 75. The water's still warm. It's almost 100 degrees. It's over 100 degrees. So this is the water that's clearly in the line. Now, as the water works its way out and cooler water comes through, basically that recovery water, you're going to see the temperature drop down. It'll probably drop down to the 80s maybe. There you go. 86, 89. Look at that. It spiked right back up. 99, and we're over 100 degrees in less than 10 seconds. Look at where we're at in about 20 seconds. I'm not sure exactly. I don't have a timer on me. But the water's getting pretty hot pretty dang quick. We're almost to 110 degrees. Right there. And that was probably less than 30 seconds. And look at that. We're going over 112, 113. So this is the point that I'm trying to make, that the results I'm getting, it's too difficult to simply say that a standard conventional water heater performs better than this tankless water heater in terms of recovery time, because the recovery time is so short that I'm not having a problem with it. And this may just be a reason why a tankless water heater, at least certain brands of tankless water heater, may be better for certain RV applications. If this system was in a much larger RV, perhaps like a Brookstone, would the length of the RV and all the extra plumbing be one of the reasons why the system gets cooler quicker, or why the system has a harder time getting water to you that is as hot as the water, when it's at full temperature running? So again, it's an interesting result that I'm getting here, and it's not necessarily the result I was thinking I would get, even when I shot the first video, because I was prepared for this system to have a very, very long recovery period or delay in feeding me hot water after I turn the water off. So basically, I turn the water on, it starts up really cold, it gets hot, 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 then it gets really hot, then I turn the water off because let's say I'm moving something around or I'm shuffling something. I wait a minute or two, I wait 30 seconds or however long it is, I come back to it, I turn the water back on, and it's going to pump a little bit of warm water out that was in the line, but then cold water until the system can heat up the water that's going through it. I thought that delay would be much, much greater than it is, and it hasn't been nearly as long as I thought it would be based off of the video that Chad made. Now, again, he was in a fifth wheel, I believe. I'm not exactly sure. It's a prototype unit, I think. But the results are definitely different in terms of that recovery time period. And so far, this one's been working pretty good, I gotta admit. I don't think I would be disappointed with this in any way. And that's also considering the fact that when we had the Van Lee Beacon, that loaner unit, for 6 months, it had the AquaGo from Truma on-demand water heating system in it, and it performed really well because I believe it has like a recirculation feature built into it to keep the water going through to get it hot before you actually use it. I believe so. I'm pretty impressed with the Girard system. It's been a pretty dang good system. It's been working well. it recovers quickly, and even in the shower. So here's a good example. I have not used the shower yet with the system today. I'm going to turn it on. Water's going to be nice and cold, so if I turn my thermometer on here, you may be able to tell. Water's nice and cold. Let's see how long it takes before the water starts to heat up here. I don't know if the probe is going to work that well because I'm using it in water that's spraying. Look at that. So it's heating up, and it's just because I have to touch one of the little streams coming out. So the water is heating up very well. Again, it's kind of hard to do it in a shower because you have to specifically touch the little streams of water coming out of the sprayer. There we go. You can see the water is nice and hot, as an example. And then if I turn the water off, and let's just say this is to conserve water so I don't have to constantly keep the thing running and I'm constantly wasting water, I turn it off for a period of time, I come back to it, the recovery time is going to be how long it takes for the water heater to heat the water up again and get it to you in hot water form. So again, this is just interesting because as much as I test this now, I'm not experiencing that same delay. If you guys have bought a new RV in the last year or so, and you have an on-demand tankless water heater, how has it performed for you? Do you have an extended period of time for the water to kind of get hot again after you turn it off for a short period of time? I'd love to know. Leave a comment below because it's something that's definitely interesting to me, and I'm wondering if some of the systems are a little different, if they all perform a little bit different, because this one seems to be performing in a very favorable way. Again, it may have everything to do with the size of trailer it's in. It may be worth saying that a tankless water heater, these newer systems are better in smaller RVs than they are in larger RVs. Nothing wrong with saying that if that's how it works and if that's indeed a better way of using it. But I'd love to know what you guys think. Guys, please leave a comment below. If you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, and we'll talk to you again very soon.